The Royal Air Force has officially retired its MQ-9 Reaper drones after 18 years of service, and now all eyes are on what happens next, Ukrainian defense media outlet Defense Express reported. With Ukraine constantly searching for better ways to shoot down Russian Shahed drones, some are wondering if Britain's veteran Reapers could be the next Shahed hunters. But as always, things aren't that simple, Defense Express noted. The RAF wrapped up the final flight of its MQ-9 Reaper fleet this fall, marking the end of nearly 2 decades in the sky. Since first entering service in October 2007, the drones logged more than 173,000 flight hours, about 7,200 days of non-stop flying, or, as the RAF put it, the equivalent of 50 trips to the moon and back. In their early days, the British Reapers flew missions over Afghanistan, striking targets and gathering intelligence. After losing 1 aircraft in 2008, the UK expanded its fleet to 10. Now, they'll be replaced by the newer MQ-9B Protector, which has greater range, endurance, and improved systems across the board, Defense Express noted. On paper, retired Reapers sound like a perfect fit for Ukraine, long-range, heavily equipped, and capable of patrolling the skies for hours while hunting Russian Shaheds. But transferring them isn't as straightforward as it sounds. Because the MQ-9s are made by American corporation General Atomics, Washington would have to sign off on any deal. So far, the Biden administration has consistently said no to giving Ukraine these drones, citing concerns that sensitive technology could fall into Russian hands. What a future Trump administration might decide is anyone's guess, Defense Express notes. Even if approval came through, Ukraine would still need to build the whole ecosystem around the drones, training operators and mechanics, setting up infrastructure, securing spare parts, and maintaining data links. And that's not cheap. There's also the problem of vulnerability. The MQ-9 is a large, slow-moving aircraft that would be an easy target for Russian air defenses if it flew too close to the front. It's a powerful tool, but not built for high-threat environments. Still, Defense Express analysts state there's an intriguing idea floating around, repurposing the Reaper as a Shahed killer. Armed with AIM-9 missiles, the drone could intercept slow-moving targets like Iranian-made Shaheds at a fraction of the cost of scrambling fighter jets, and without risking a pilot's life. It's not a perfect solution, but it could help ease the pressure on Ukraine's air defenses, which face nightly drone and missile attacks across multiple regions.
The entire Russian Armed Forces landing force aboard the Russian Mi-8 became Cargo 200 during the Ukrainian FPV strike. This was reported by the well-known Z channel, Vovoda Broadcasts. According to him, all the occupying paratroopers on board were killed instantly. However, according to him, the bodies have still not been recovered, as this is simply not possible due to the proximity to the front line and the active operation of Ukrainian FPV aircraft in this area. I'm honestly tired of answering questions from relatives of the men from the GOP. They died. They died instantly. There's no way to survive in this hell. An Mi-8 burned completely within 7 minutes. They'll all be caught. That's not an option right now, the propagandist wrote. The helicopter was shot down in Donbass. Ukrainian Defense Forces intercepted the enemy helicopter and burned it in mid-flight using a drone. Official Russian media, the Kremlin, and the Russian Ministry of Defense have not commented on the situation. The losses are being hushed up, and no information has appeared on government resources. The Mi-8 is known to carry up to 24 paratroopers. The exact number of occupiers who became Cargo 200 during the attack is unknown. According to sources, only 2 occupiers survived, the navigator and the flight engineer. The rest, according to Z Channel, burned to death within minutes of the aircraft's destruction. At the same time, the German publication Bild reported that Ukrainian intelligence had mapped the enemy's helicopter's flight paths in advance. For several days, Ukrainian armed forces drones monitored the area of the intended strike. When the Mi-8 was in the desired area, one of the drones attacked it in mid-air and accurately hit its target. The Mi-8 is a Soviet-designed twin-engine helicopter widely used for transport, combat support, and humanitarian missions. Introduced in the 1960s, it remains one of the most widely operated helicopters globally, valued for its versatility, durability, and ability to operate in challenging environments. The Mi-8 is a twin-engine military transport helicopter used by Russian forces for troop and cargo transport as well as airborne operations. This is not the first time Ukraine has taken down a Russian helicopter, an asset valued in millions of dollars, using a relatively inexpensive FPV drone costing just a few $1,000s. Yunakovka in the Sumy direction has become a mass grave for Russian occupiers. The futile attempt to hold the border village is resulting in heavy losses for the Russian armed forces. The Russian Z Resource Northern Channel, which is associated with the Russian armed forces, writes openly about this. If anyone asks what's going on in Yunakovka, the answer is one: complete madness. The soldiers don't live here, but have been living in burrows for 2 months now. What kind of rotation are we even talking about? They've forgotten the word here. Every trip for water or to pick up a 300th is not Russian roulette, but an almost guaranteed one-way ticket. Evacuation teams are suicide bombers. The sky is black with Ukrainian birds. FPV cameras and heavy bombers hang around the clock, dismantling any trench, any position. The Russian channel writes. He particularly complains about the work of the Ukrainian heavy UAVs, Baba Yaga. It feels like they, the Ukrainian Defense Forces, have wagons of these drones, while we'll skin you alive for every lost one. To practice FPV, you'd probably have to personally call the General Staff. They use 3 to 4 FPV drones per soldier, and they don't spare any expense. Severny Kanal reported, the situation is dire for the Russian armed forces in the Sumy direction and with artillery. Artillery? Their guns are hitting and no one can shut them up. We seem to have some, but as soon as we fire one shot, they fire a dozen in response and then finish us off with drones. The propaganda channel complained. It also reported on the acute shortage of manpower in the Sumy region and the active use by the occupiers of so-called crippled regiments, untreated soldiers of the Russian armed forces. The situation near Yunakovka demonstrates how technological superiority in drones and well-coordinated artillery support can transform positional warfare into a battle of attrition, depriving opponents of the chance to recover and forcing them to change their operational plans. Recall, Putin's army attacks Ukrainian armed forces positions near Tetkino, Besalovka, Alexeyevka, and Varachino. Ukrainian forces counter-attacked near Sadki, Yunakovka, Tetkino, and Besalovka. A Z public group associated with the Russian Northern Group of Forces claimed that Putin's army lacks the reserves to continue active fighting in the Sumy region. According to a Russian war correspondent, Ukrainian armed forces drones are preventing Putin's army from transporting all of its infantry by boat across the Filinchchina River near Kondratovka. To reinforce the occupiers of the 30th Motorized Rifle Regiment who are fighting in the Alexeyevka area, the Kremlin decided to form a new unit from the Strategic Missile Forces. This fact demonstrates the enemy's acute shortage of infantry reserves. It is also known that units of the 106th Airborne Division have been fighting in the Yunakovka area for 2 months without rotation or evacuation. According to Z channels, a company with 20 to 30 men is considered fully staffed. However, new recruits suffer serious wounds after every battle and are taken out of action. Yunakovka, according to Russian war correspondents, still remains a grey zone.